Break out the brooms. The Chargers have swept the Chiefs and have ended their reign over the AFC West.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Droegemeier, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 10 seasons, but this is our 8th year as the host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day as part of the #1 sports podcast network. David, we've been doing this 10 years. This will be the first season doing it that the Chiefs will not be AFC West champions.
The evil empire has been toppled. The Chargers have done what they set out to do. They swept the Kansas City Chiefs and sent them packing early and ended their 2025 season.
Yeah, and we're here to react with it because there's so much to be excited about, especially the Chargers bullying the Chiefs. It was a cold day, frigid temperatures, and the Chargers were the more physical team on Sunday, helping them get the win. They don't get it without the gigantic plays from Derwin James and Daiyan Henley, who were picking up their guy Tony Jefferson that got ejected somehow from this game, which is crazy. But we also have to shout out the rooks, Oronde Gadsden, Omarion Hampton, Tre Harris, KeAndre Lambert Smith. Everybody got involved on Sunday, but today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be in the right place in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. David, wow, this is the thing about this win. Like, if the Chargers don't beat the Chiefs twice, obviously the news just came out that Patrick Mahomes, they believe, has suffered a torn ACL, so their season was going to end today either way. But either way, you don't get those 2 wins. You're talking about a Chiefs team that, if he was healthy, would have still been right in the middle of the playoff mix. Instead, the Chargers end it. They take it into their own hands. I talked about it last week. They are the executioner with the axe in their hand, and we will see if they can, really give the final blow to a team that not only has been to 5 Super Bowls, right, over the last 6 years, has been in the AFC Championship game every year, but has just killed you. The Chargers hadn't beat the Chiefs since 2021 with Patrick Mahomes starting. The Chargers today ended that reign.
This is why you bring in Jim Harbaugh right here. This is the reason why you bring in this type of head coach to go mano a mano with a head coach in Andy Reid, who has won the AFC West 9 straight times, where the Chargers have been absolutely dominated. This is the first time the Chargers have swept the Chiefs since 2013. This is the first time the Chargers have had back-to-back 10-plus win seasons since the 06-07 season. This is a monumental victory, one of the biggest victories of the decade. It is a absolutely, truly euphoric feeling to be able to eliminate the team that has had the most dominant era of the modern era that we've seen in the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that has been in the AFC Championship game pretty much every single year the last 7 years. The Chargers just sent them packing and also further solidified their playoff standing with that big victory.
And that's what this is. It's one thing to eliminate the Chiefs, which going into the day, a couple other things had to happen that did happen for the Chiefs to be able to be fully eliminated after losing to the Chargers. And those things fell into place. And it was up to the Chargers. And this is the thing. Had the Chargers not won, it's not as if they would have been eliminated from playoff contention. They still would have had a good shot to try to make it in and a few games left. But you would have left the door open. And the one thing you don't want to do against a team like that is leave the door open. And if they're not, going into that last drive, having to do everything it takes, and the Chargers weren't relentless in their effort, Patrick Mahomes doesn't get hurt in that game, right? He's only in that position because the Chargers were beating them and were chasing him all over the field and harassing him the entire game. But this also puts the Chargers' playoff chances on all the predictors above 90%. The Colts losing. Shout out, Phil. Gave it everything he had today. But now it helps the Chargers because it's the Bills. Whoever, loses out in the AFC South right now in the second place in the South, and the Chargers as the 3 main teams. And more importantly than that, showing you can beat the teams you're going to need to once you get to the playoffs. David, we're talking about the Chargers in back-to-back weeks now who have taken out the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl last year.
That's massive, like big time gut check type victories, like, litmus test type wins. Like, what type of team are you? Like, these are the type of games that show you who you are. And in the gotta have it games in the gotta have it month of December, right? This is where you either make it to the playoffs or you get sent packing. And we saw what happened today. The Chargers, after fighting tooth and nail and going all the way to overtime with the Eagles and ending up victorious in that game, they came into this one with all of everything that they wanted in front of them, and they made it happen. They got it done. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and this is a massive victory. I mean, big time momentum heading into, the last 3 games of the season, where it doesn't get any easier. Still got plenty of big time teams in front of you, but these 2 games, they definitely legitimize this team, and you have to absolutely give this team some respect, and they should be scary, and they should be scaring some teams that they are going to play either now or in the playoffs.
Well, and that was kind of the depressing thing for a lot of the season. It was like, okay, well, even if the Chargers do get there, like, there's just no chance they're going to pick up Justin Herbert's first playoff win. And at least slowly over this last stretch, they're showing you that maybe they can take a team out, and they're going to get another one 2 weeks from now when they play the Houston Texans, which will be another barometer for what this team can do once these tougher games come. But we knew the Chargers had this insanely tough stretch. We were hoping they could win 2 out of the last 5, right? After beating the Raiders, doing what they needed to do to get to 8-4. Instead, they take out the Eagles and the Chiefs in back-to-back weeks. The cherry on top being ending the Chiefs season, which is just so great considering what they've been through. I mean, Justin Herbert only beaten Patrick Mahomes a single time, and it was in 2021 in Arrowhead. He beat them twice as many times this season as he had done his whole career. So I do think this is a huge check mark for this team in the direction that they're going, because with the injuries they had, I don't care about the Chiefs offensive line injuries, right? The Chargers aren't going to be making excuses for anyone else. I can promise you that. To go win that game, a tough game, a game where they had to, I mean, how many times has Justin Herbert given them the lead and the defense wasn't able to hold on to it late in the game? That's not what happened. And I thought it was because of the physicality the Chargers played with on especially the defensive side, because this felt like an early 2000s football game. The hits were getting laid, David, especially Derwin James, Tony Jefferson. Man, like, we got some jacked them up type of hits in this game.
Whenever you see Derwin James go hit the knee strut and go ahead and swing the arms back and forth, that means he just laid somebody out. And he did that a couple of times in this game. And Tony Jefferson was everywhere. And he was playing with his hair on fire, running straight through whoever he had the opportunity to. I mean, the first hit before he got flagged and unnecessarily ejected was a thing of absolute beauty. I mean, he hit Rashee Rice over the middle as clean as you possibly could and just smacked him. It was beautiful. And also give a shout out to Denzel Perriman. I mean, I thought he brought some physicality and violence in the way, and he always does. I've always talked about that stopping power that he has, but it was all across the defense. But when you have your leaders out there showing out and doing that and providing that, I think that really carries out throughout this defense. And I know Tony doesn't have that C on his chest, but that defense absolutely looks up to him. That secondary looks up to him. When he comes in and plays like that, it definitely changes the tone of the football game.
Well, and I mean, the Chiefs were driving when Tony got ejected, and it did change the trajectory of this game. Like, that's a huge, huge bonus for the Chiefs to not have him out there the way that he was playing, but it did feel like it galvanized the rest of the players in that defense. And Tony Jefferson, absolutely a captain in my book, even if he's not going out there for the coin toss. But that hit that he made on Rashee Rice is one of the best legal hits in recent memory in the NFL, and I watch a lot of football, that I've seen in a very long time. That was an old school hit. Shout out to Derwin James, too, because both of those plays potentially keep Chiefs drives going. Like, it wasn't just big hits for the sake of big hits. Both times they dislodged passes that Patrick Mahomes had gotten to those receivers, and the Chargers just hit them so hard they couldn't hold on to it anymore, right? And Tony, to get ejected on that, like, it's one thing if you have to call the flag, you have to call the flag. And even then, the receiver went down and went to the level of Tony Jefferson. It was not Tony Jefferson going up to hit the head of the wide receiver, but I get it. Bang, bang, helmet to helmet. The dude's crunched. You have to do something. To eject him from that game, the play after, Juju Smith-Schuster actually took a dirty shot on a blindside block and tried to take Tony Jefferson's head out when he wasn't looking. So that's not an ejection, but Tony Jefferson making a football play in the middle of the field is like, what are we doing? Like, it was such a dumb penalty.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I get the penalty. It's a terrible ejection. I've seen way crazier hits not have an ejection. This isn't, college football where you have to do that. So for that to come down from the booth in that moment in a huge game, I thought was insane. But you know who picked him up? Daiyan Henley picked him up. Derwin James picked him up. And that's the beauty of this defense, because those two dudes, the biggest stars on your defense, came through in the biggest moments. And we're talking about that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First, I need to tell you guys that the holidays are here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, or guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories, because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. You can also add personalized messages right inside the frame so the gift feels thoughtful the moment it's opened, and packaging comes gift ready, no price tag, no wrapping needed. A huge win. And for me, as my parents are now grandparents, it's the easiest Christmas gift I have ever been able to purchase. It's done. My dad got one. My mom got one, and I'm done now. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off their best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code locked on. This deal is exclusive to our listeners, and the frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. David, we've talked a little bit about the defense, but we haven't talked about the stars of the game, including the guy who finished the game out very fittingly, and it was Derwin James, who did it in coverage of Travis Kelce, right? One of the all-time matchups, one of the best kind of player-on-player matchups that we've gotten in this league in a long time, going back to, the power slaying pile driver that he had against him in one game on the goal line, and just their interactions throughout the years as two of the best players in the AFC West. And we talked about it. I mean, Tony Jefferson had that big hit. Derwin James also had a huge hit that broke up a third down conversion earlier in the game. But more importantly, he took advantage of an opportunity late, which was Patrick Mahomes goes out, Gardner Minshew comes in, and they're getting into field goal range. They get that first down with Gardner Minshew, and they're just going to Travis Kelce, and you can tell that's what they're going to try and do. Not anymore. Derwin James goes man-to-man, puts the straps on him, gets the interception. I mean, if he just knocks it down, they might kick the game-winning field goal. He ended it, and the Chargers got to do things on their own terms.
They sure did. Derwin James was everywhere. He was all over the football field. He led on the field and off the field in this game. I saw him getting in there, talking to all his teammates, hyping them up, making sure they're staying focused and staying in this game. And then he went out there on the field, and he proved it. He proved how good he is, why he's one of the best defensive players in the league. 10 tackles, 2 passes defensed, 1 game-sealing, Chiefs-crushing interception. Absolutely fantastic play by him. And I think, honestly, Daniel, I said this on the after show, that this might be one of the last matchups. It might be, I think, the last matchup between Derwin James and Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce might retire after this season, especially with everything that we know going on with Patrick Mahomes. I think this might be it. This might be the last time one of the great rivalries of the NFL shows itself on the television screen. And it was a hell of a battle, as we've seen pretty much all of them. 2 just best on best type players. And it was fitting that Derwin James fought for position, got that inside leverage, went up and made a play and ended the game.
Yeah, it was awesome to see that. I mean, Gardner Minshew or not, I mean, I think as soon as he gets in there, obviously things change a little bit defensively when you're game planning for Patrick Mahomes. But, that one thing doesn't change, where it's man on man, you beat your guy, you end the game. And that's exactly what Derwin James did against Travis Kelce, who was having a pretty good game by his standards this year. So we'll see if we see him. But I think that's the other big part of the Chargers knocking the Chiefs out right now, because it does feel like an end of an era. Maybe Chris Jones is slowing down a little bit, right? Andy Reid is way up there and now isn't in the playoffs. Travis Kelce could retire, or it could galvanize them. Maybe they'll try to come back for one more, but it does feel like it's going to have to be a new version of this Chiefs team that has to come back in 2026, and the Chargers are the ones that killed the blueprint, so they deserve a ton of credit for that. And another guy who didn't have the game-winning interception, but he had one that was just as important, was Daiyan Henley, a guy who obviously we've talked a ton about this year, maybe a little bit of a sophomore slump after some unforeseen circumstances that he's had to go through with the loss of his brother, a crazy illness that, really changed him just physically for several weeks. And now to come back and be in the first game, the guy who's chasing Patrick Mahomes down as the spy to sack him. In this game, he makes the other play of the game. I mean, after the Tony Jefferson personal foul, it put the Chiefs in easy field goal range, right? Yeah. It was just about basically holding them out of the end zone at that point. Don't let them take the lead. And then you get one even better because Patrick Mahomes makes one of those kind of patented throws trying to make something out of nothing. He floats it up. Daiyan Henley plays a wheel route as well as you possibly can, carries the back up the field, gets his eyes around to the quarterback, and gets the Chargers the interception on the 1 yard line. Daiyan Henley getting back, rounding into that form, David. That was a huge play by one of the guys we've touted as a potential of being the best coverage linebacker in the league. He showed why we have that belief on that play.
Yep, absolutely. He sure did. He ran that wheel route for that running back. He turned around, located the football, and he made the catch and secured it in the red zone. It's not just an interception. That's an interception in the red zone. That is critical, crucial, a just
took points away.
Soul-crushing play by the Chargers defense and by Daiyan Henley. You completely stop the momentum and eliminate their chance to score any points. Yeah, they had 3 points in the bag, and then they went for it. They went for a play, and Daiyan Henley made them pay with a big-time red zone interception.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, they were in field goal range like both those last 2 drives. The Chiefs got into field goal range, and the Chargers found the only 2 takeaways of the game in those moments. I mean, we're talking about a Chiefs team that had killed the Chargers so many times on their final possession. And on Patrick Mahomes' final 2 possessions this game, he, that ends up in 2 interceptions. Obviously, one of them wasn't his, but either way, like the Chargers had to make those big-time plays. And a couple times they got backed up, and they still found a way. And I think that just embodies what this defense has been for a little while now, but definitely in back-to-back weeks with 2 just elite performances against 2 really, I don't care if the Chiefs are 6-8. Like, Chiefs are a good team. Look at the teams they've lost to. Look at the teams they beat. They had a ridiculous schedule. This is a tough team to beat, especially a divisional game. And the Chargers defense was awesome again. I mean, out of the last basically 2 months, you take out that Jaguars game, they've basically just been on a different level. I mean, they sacked Mahomes 5 times in this game. Didn't allow a single point, David, in the second half. A second half shutout for this defense, and just showing again that with the offense struggling a little bit, this is a defense that can win you games. We'd seen them do it against inferior competition for sure. Now we're seeing them win games against some of the better teams in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely. It certainly was not just Derwin James. It wasn't just Daiyan Henley. I mean, this defense was phenomenal all across the board. 5 sacks, 9 quarterback hits, 9 tackles for loss. Oof. They were all over the field. Yeah. Multiple sacks by Odafe Owe and Tuli Tuipulotu. Interceptions by Daiyan and Derwin. And they also completely stymied the Chiefs' rushing attack. Just eliminated it. It was 21 carries for 49 yards. That's only 2.3 yards a carry. I'll take that all day long, every single Sunday. That is spectacular. They stop the run like that. This pass defense can shut down anybody. And when they marry that pass rush with that coverage ability of those guys on the back end, these guys got to be playing with unbelievable confidence. And it wasn't just stopping the run. They held Patrick Mahomes to under 200 yards passing. So they dominated him on the ground, dominated him through the air. It was a complete performance by the Chargers defense.
Hey, shout out to Andre Montano. Over 200 passing yards for Justin Herbert, under 200 for Patrick Mahomes. A bold prediction coming true. I just thought of that. So shout out to an everydayer.
Stuff,
but yeah,
man.
That's awesome. Yeah, this is a great performance. And, to get 5 sacks, like, look who did it, right? It's an interception for Daiyan. It's an interception for Derwin. It's 5 sacks, and they all come from Odafe Owe. They come from Tuli. They come from Khalil Mack. And, Tuli, Owe, I thought was the most impressive just from the standpoint of, he was getting quick wins. And not only that, he's athletic enough to chase down someone like Patrick Mahomes.
And his length is crazy, man. That combination is awesome.
There's not many guys, even if Patrick Mahomes does get out of the pocket and evades you initially, that can actually keep them from, running for a first down or chase him down from behind. That is what Odafe Owe was able to show in this game. But the Chargers, as we know, we talked about it this week, their defense will go as far as their pass rush can take them. 9 quarterback hits, 5 sacks in this game. Obviously a banged up offensive line, but it doesn't matter. Like, those guys have to produce. That's the reason you get, 2 turnovers. It's the reason you have such a dominant defensive performance where you shut them out in the second half. So Jesse Minter, another big test next week. But the one thing that was kind of missing from his resume was doing it against some of the better offenses. This version of the KC defense, withstanding, like, this is a top 10 offense so far this year going into this game. So now they'll get another good offense to test themselves against next week with the Dallas Cowboys. But the offense for the Chargers obviously still has some issues, and we're going to talk about some of that. But I do think what really stood out to me today was the rookies on offense coming through for the Chargers and basically carrying the Chargers offense for a lot of this game. We're getting into all that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part, and that's why Game Time is clutch, because finally it gives fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. I know David just got his tickets on Game Time to the Cowboys game coming up with his son. Excited for him to go to that and get to see a game in Texas since he lives out there. And you can get tickets to that game if you're around the other area for $37 with Game Time. You can get tickets to the next Chargers home game where they look to get revenge against the Houston Texans for under $50. You can go watch this Chargers team that looks like they're headed to the playoffs. And if you need big tickets for a playoff game or for a World Cup game for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets in every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. I also need to tell you guys about FanDuel, because NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment, including you just didn't necessarily know what Phillip Rivers is going to look like, right? You might not have thought the Colts could cover the spread against the Seahawks with Phillip out there. Yeah, early in that game, you could tell, okay, Phillip still has it. And he's not all there, but he's going to keep this one close, and he did. But live spreads, money lines, they all adjust instantly. Player props updates as the guys heat up. I'm very excited to see what this spread is next week for the Chargers and Cowboys. But you can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. David, now it's time to talk about the offensive side of things, where, again, it was a struggle, and the Chargers were going to have to do it in this game against one of the top defenses in the league. And that was one thing they had to show us, because we knew, yes, you did it against the Eagles, who were a good defense, a top 10 scoring defense. The Chiefs, the Texans, the Broncos all rank ahead of them. So it wasn't going to be the end of it. And the Chargers had their issues. But this game turned, David, definitively. It turned before the half with the Chargers down 13-3. No momentum at all. They call the timeouts when the Chiefs are in the red zone. They get off the field and force a field goal there. And then after not having any passing attack the entire game, that is where things changed. You get a big return from KeAndre Lambert Smith, right? Takes it to the 40-yard line. Then Tre Harris makes the best play of his young career and gets a sideline grab that was really tough and somehow found a way to stay in bounds and complete the catch, even though he landed on the football. And then, fittingly, the guy who starts it off, KeAndre Lambert Smith, who's been inactive, been an afterthought in this offense, with Quentin Johnston out for this game, comes up with a huge touchdown to cut it to 13-10 before the half. And I was just like, man, this is a glimpse into the future right here. The Chargers offense was struggling, and on this drive, a couple of their offensive rookies picked them up and came up with the biggest plays of their season.
Yeah, and like up until that point, they had really struggled to provide quality protection for Justin, and that was a mix of bad blocking and bad play calling. I think there's still some spacing issues, but on that drive, that touchdown drive was brought to you by the Chargers 2025 draft class, wide receiver draft class to be specific, and that was phenomenal. Big time return set up with a just fantastic catch by Tre Harris to be able to get his hand underneath that football, keep and maintain possession of it with two defenders in really good position, like just a phenomenal catch. And then Justin Herbert finds KeAndre Lambert Smith on the left side of the end zone after hitting him with a kind of a jump throw. And KeAndre is able to secure that. And I think from that moment on, the protection got better, the play calling got a little bit better, and they were able to move the ball a little bit more effectively from that drive. And that drive was huge. They absolutely had to answer the Chiefs' scoring drive with points, and they did that.
Yeah, I mean, the game plays out entirely differently, potentially, if you don't have that there. And I just thought it was so impressive, not only for the rookies, but you also just see it's like, man, if you give Justin Herbert a half second more to throw, look at the ridiculous things he can still do. Don't forget how much talent this dude has in that right arm. That throw down the sideline to Tre Harris was a drop in the bucket. And to have, a receiver that can finish a tough catch like that is huge and not something he's always had, right? And then you see KeAndre Lambert Smith having to make an adjustment in the back of the end zone. Justin Herbert evading pressure, jump throwing it to him right in the back of the end zone, but him finding a way to complete the tough catch, get his feet in bounds, and get that huge pivotal touchdown. Like, that's huge. And for those rookies to come through in those moments, I thought really kind of saved the game for the Chargers, because I just don't know where things go if they just keep leaving that defense out there to continually have to get stops against, the best quarterback of this generation and an offense that's super desperate to get things growing. I thought was just gigantic. Then you come out after halftime, you get the 7 to cut it to 3, and then you go down the field, 11 plays, 66 yards, and you get a field goal to tie the game. Back-to-back scoring drives after struggling for most of the first half. I thought that part was huge, and it was a huge part because of the other offensive rookies. I mean, we're talking about 4 impactful rookies in this game, including Oronde Gadsden. We called for it on the Friday show, David. Get Oronde Gadsden back involved in this offense. He leads the team with 4 catches and 61 yards and looked great doing it. Made some tough catches through contact, including a 27-yarder that should have led to a Chargers touchdown, but led to easy points. And then Omarion Hampton, man, just running hard. Like, it's not going to be a box score that wows you, but 15 carries, 61 yards, averaging more than 4 yards a carry against a really good run defense. Like, that's 4 offensive rookies, 4 guys in this draft class, David, that I don't think they get the win without.
No, I mean, they were absolutely pivotal in this matchup today for the Chargers against the Chiefs. It was a big time performance. I called for it. We wanted to see it. Get Oronde Gadsden the blue-eyed dragon, get him more involved in the game plan, get him going early and keep him involved, and they did that much better. 4 receptions on 5 targets there, including that big explosive, that 27-yard catch. That was fantastic. And Omarion Hampton, it was 15 for 61, 4.1 yards a carry, but had a explosive run as well, a 26-yard run in there. And also, I'd like to point out that I thought he was excellent on the 3rd and short situations. He had a couple of big-time conversions where he had to run tough, run physical, and make sure he got where he had to go, and he did that. And so I feel like the rookies showing up, showing out all over the offense, like, you have to give Joe Ortiz and his scouting staff an just unbelievable amount of credit for what they've been able to do on both the offense and the defensive side of the football. 2 drafts and a myriad of big-time home run style picks just up and down the draft.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that the bigger part is just the Chargers obviously going into this offseason with a commitment to restocking the arsenal, because when Joe Ortiz took over, it was with a bloated contract of Mike Williams, a bloated contract of Keenan Allen and Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, and they didn't have the options, and they were an aging offense that had, Gerald Everett out there running around for them the year before. Like, they just had to get younger, they had to get faster, and those guys are the guys who came through today, maybe not at the beginning of the season, but as they season a little bit towards the end of this year, being guys that you can rely upon in those big moments, especially KeAndre Lambert Smith, who not only is, was a boost to the passing game, but also to that Chargers return game that has really struggled as well. So all those guys deserve a huge shout out. Oronde Gadsden shows again why he's going to be one of the best tight ends in the league when things are all said and done, because he has just continued and got back on track to what has been just a phenomenal rookie season. He's going to set some more records before we're all said and done. But that being said, I'm not going to sugarcoat everything. Like, the rookies came through, but the offense still has a lot to fix. I think the one kind of better thing for the offense today is at least you can kind of pinpoint where 2 of those drives fell short late in the game, right? You have Tre Harris with a catch over the middle that is probably close to a first down. With the way he runs after the catch, I'm going to go ahead and say that would have been a first down. Bob was the catch a little bit. Defenders able to break it up. And then Keenan Allen on the drive where you basically could put the game away, and you still did great. You started on your 1 yard line. You killed some clock. You got it out near midfield. You changed the field position 100% and made them have to go get it. So that part was nice. But Keenan Allen, your veteran, right? Multiple big catches today, but had that drop, which stopped it from being, a 3rd and 2 and turned it into a 3rd and 7. And then, of course, Justin Herbert's immediately hit and is barely throwing the ball away as he's about to hit the ground. So those, there are bigger issues offensively, but today the drops, which haven't really been a story a lot of the season, definitely played a factor in it.
Yeah, the drops were definitely an issue. I thought the protection early on in the football game was still very much an issue, still had issues with free rushers, and that was very evident. But, like I said, towards that last drive of the first half, going into the second half, they got the protection issues a lot more figured out. I mean, they got rid of the ball a lot faster, so schematically they were helping out. They had Trevor Penning on the field a lot to try to add as an extra run blocker, extra pass blocker. You had Will Dissly in there helping out also as a pass protector. This obviously was a much better performance from them from a protection standpoint. This wasn't the 70%, pass rush win rate that the Eagles were able to, put on the Chargers offensive line. So started off bad, but got better. Definitely not pretty. And, you have to score more touchdowns if you want to compete against these other teams. It's just what it takes. But this was a massive victory, something we should all definitely celebrate. The Chargers eliminated the Chiefs. They sent them home. They're, got a 90% chance to go to the playoffs, and they're 5-0 in the AFC West.
Yeah, that part is crazy. I honestly think it was a better offensive performance than the one we saw last week even, especially taking into account all the turnovers the Chargers had to work with last week, right, in good field position that set them up for easy touchdowns. Like, take 3 off of whatever the Chargers defense gave up today. They only give up 10 points. It's not going to be like that every week. And the offense is going to have to be able to answer the call a little bit more. I mean, still, Herbert sacked 4 times, hit a total of 12 times. When they did have to get in those 3rd and long situations, it was a problem for them and will continue to be. So the drops obviously hurt them in this one. You still let Justin Herbert take a bunch of heat, and there's still issues that you have to, figure out in the passing game where it's like, you have one throw early to Oronde Gadsden where him and Will Dissly are running step for step 4 yards apart from each other. That stuff has to be a little bit better, but I did think it was a step in the right direction. Now, they still have a long way to go if they want to put up more than 10 points against the Houston Texans here in a couple of weeks. A lesser defense, maybe the worst defense you have left, is coming up this week. I hope to see some major offensive strides there. It's still a good front. They still have some good players over there. But if it's not going to get figured out this week against the Cowboys, it's hard to imagine it will against the Texans and the Broncos to end your season. But a gigantic win for the Chargers. 10-4, David. 10 wins. Man, there was many times this season it didn't feel like the Chargers were going to be a double-digit win team. Not only do they get to 10 wins, they get that crucial AFC win, right? If they beat the Cowboys and beat the Chiefs or lost to the Chiefs, it wouldn't be as good as what they have right now, right? They needed to get another win in the AFC. The Colts losing, for as much as I love Phillip Rivers, helps the Chargers because that puts them, basically having to win out to overtake them. So still some things they'll have to prove down the stretch, especially with Uncle Phil showing he can still do it. Might get them a win or two down the stretch. But, man, this was a huge, huge game for this Chargers team. And to beat both the teams in the Super Bowl that were in the Super Bowl last year after, going 2-5 last year against those playoff teams, unbelievable. A great Jim Harbaugh win, a great sign for the direction of this franchise and for this Chargers team to be able to take out the boogeyman that has taken them out for several years in a row. So that's going to wrap the show up for today. Make sure you're back here tomorrow for Buy or Sell Tuesday when we get to it, getting into the biggest Charger storylines and overreactions. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of them. And also, if you want to, check out the Everydayer Club. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get the show Locked On Chargers ad-free with no interruptions, members only Discord channel that I've been on since the game ended, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonchargers.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to make that happen. It's been exciting. It's just extra. The show will never change. We'll always bring you the 5 free shows as we always do, but I've been excited to be celebrating in the Discord channel. It's been a lot of fun. So make sure you guys are back here on Tuesday for our Buy or Sell show as we get into the final stretch, and we'll see where the Chargers end up as far as wins. 11 wins. Is 12 wins off the table? Do the Chargers go 13-4? In 2025, we have a lot to get into, but thank you guys as always for making us your first listen. We'll be back with you guys on Tuesday. Until then, take it easy and go Bolts.